You are watching Park TV.
Welcome to Monadnock Tonight with your host, Steve Jackson. Coming to you live from the studios of the Park Theater in downtown Jaffrey, New Hampshire. Join Steve and his guests today, Artistic Director of the Raylynmor Opera, Ben Robinson, and acclaimed soprano singer, Sarah Beckham-Turner. Now we invite you to sit back, relax, and here's Steve.
Well, good afternoon and the start of an evening to everyone out there on the World Wide Web. And welcome to the Park Theater and Park TV's Monadnock Tonight program. It is Tuesday, June 30th, 2020. It is 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, and this is show number 029. And yes, I'm Steve Jackson. I'm the CEO of the Park Theater and your host for this show. And we are so glad that you could join us. Our first guest today is an opera singer, an actor, a stage director, a producer. How many more talents do you need? He's got them all. And our second guest is an accomplished soprano singer who will be performing for us. But first, there's been a lot of news going on in terms of what we've been doing with events. And there has been an online event that's been going on, and it began last Friday, which is the 2020 online seat telethon and auction. Now, what's happened, the online telethon and the culmination of the auction happened on July 10th, a week from this Friday. But what began last Friday is the auction. And it's an online auction. Bids have been coming in briskly, I'll put it that way. And that's very good and very nice. I mean, we have two thank yous. One, certainly thank you to everyone that has donated trips, gifts, homes, oil, gift certificates, as you can see on the screen, maple syrup, wine. There are dozens of items that have been donated to us so generously by the Monadnock communities and certainly our hometown for the theater, Jaffrey. But they've also come from friends of ours all over. And so I invite you, an easy way to get there is just go to our website, theparktheater.org, and you're going to see a big banner there. Just click on that, and you'll get to know more about the telethon, our celebrity pledge takers. We're going to be on the live portion of this, which is, as I say, July 10th, starts at 7 p.m., goes for 2 hours. We will have celebrity pledge takers taking pledges for the remaining seats in the main episode auditorium, as well as any generosity that can be shown to the theater, any donation or gift that can be given to us as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun there. We will have some live music going on as well. And we will be giving you more description and updates of where the online auction is, because it ends at the end of just a few minutes before the end of the broadcast on July 10th, around 8:45, 8:55. The items just are cut off. That's your last shot at whatever you want to bid on. And as you see, this is just from the first page. We've got things in the range of a Toadstool bookshop, gift certificate. We've got still life painting with Jean Duval, another bookshop, wonderful comic book shop, and more in downtown Jaffrey, the Escape Hatch. A 1 week, we already have a bid on it in this little picturesque town in east, close to the coast, near the North Sea of England, that this family has graciously donated a week rental of this little townhouse in this very picturesque town of, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but I'm going to say Louth, Louth. I'm sure I could be wrong. I could be right. Syrup, maple syrup. You have to have maple syrup on any auction and certainly in New Hampshire, let alone New England. Wonderful wines from Australia And we already have a bid on the Cabo San Lucas luxury resort package. So there, and literally there are 36 other things. So go to theparktheater.org and head on and see what you like. And then again, put it on your calendar for July 10th that we will live, and stay tuned to Facebook and Instagram, and we'll be telling you more and more and more about what's happening. And we are having more items added every few days, thanks to a lot of generosity. So with that in mind, let's just first, before we get to our first guest, we always like to, this is made possible again by the generosity of this particular company right now, who is our underwriting sponsor. Here's a word from our good friends at Beltates.
At Marvin, we make more than just windows and doors. We make brighter mornings, open invitations, and relaxing retreats. We make windows and doors inspired by how you live, so you're inspired to live well.
Discover Marvin at Beltates, your local Marvin retailer. Since 1898, Beltates product specialists have been offering quality building products throughout southern and central New Hampshire. Visit one of our 6 displaying locations or beltates.discovermarvin.com.
Thank you, Beltates. We love you guys for being a supporter of ours now and for many, many years. So let me tell you a little bit about our first guest. His name is Benjamin Robinson. He's described as a charming lyric tenor. He's a native of Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's see, what else do we have? He is known for his, sorry, I just had a little bit of a problem with the computer here. He is known for his emphatic characterizations and, quote, easy vocal production and luscious instrument. He is the artistic director of Raylynmor Opera and Opera Ithaca, and works as a stage director and librettist. His credits include Ralph Rackstraw and HMS Pinafore with the Eugene Opera, Chip In on the Town with Resonance Works Pittsburgh, directing The Barber of Seville and La Tragédie de Carmen for Raylynmor Opera, returning to the Britain Serenade for tenor, horn, and strings with the Knickerbocker Chamber Orchestra, and more and more and more. Let's bring in Ben. Okay, here comes Ben. Miracle, 3, 2, 1. There is Mr. Ben Robinson.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Ben. We are so pleased to have you with us today to learn a little bit more about Ben himself. We know the man, the name. We know the beautiful productions that he produces with the Raylynmor Opera, but maybe we'll get to know a little bit more about Ben himself and his life. But we'll certainly know more about what's going on with Raylynmor Opera right now. Ben, just a few questions. What got you intrigued with opera and music, singing, and at what age did that start to become something that you knew, this could be something for me?
Well, my mom always tells a funny story about me when I was probably in 4th grade or something, trying out for a church musical. And I just sort of got up and sang the first time. And I don't think I'd ever really sung much in public before that, but it was one of those moments where I just sort of got up and sang, and it was better than my mom expected. And I ended up getting this lead role when I was in 4th grade. And I think that kind of, started me on a path that maybe my parents regretted, but they've been pretty cool about. And it's been a really exciting path ever since. I started studying voice formally when I was about 14 years old. I went on to the University of Michigan and got a degree in voice performance there, and then went to grad school in Houston, Texas at the University of Houston, and got a master's in vocal performance. and then started my career. I've sung here and there across the United States, and that's exactly what led me to New Hampshire the first time, which was to sing with Raylynmor in 2011.
One question before we hit the Raylynmor portion. Do you remember what when you started? What your first singing performance was?
It was like a musical about Noah and the Ark, and I was Noah. And we've got the video proof somewhere.
Well, we could have asked. We should have asked you to bring a little snippet of that, but
I'm glad you didn't. But
I'm glad I didn't. Well,
another show, another time.
I have to say, just to put my 2 cents in, I was the sergeant of police in the Pirates of Penzance when I was in the 6th grade, and all I say to my friends out there of Gilbert and Sullivan, Tarantara. But so, in terms of where you were and how you came, what got you to New Hampshire and to Raylynmor? What were the connections that happened there?
Well, just like with anything in the performing arts, you just sort of follow the leads that are set out before you. I was living in Boston, and I'd heard about Raylynmor. Raylynmor has always sort of had a presence outside of New England in that it's been a well-respected company. And I was living in Boston, and they were holding auditions for the Pirates of Penzance. And that's a role that I've ended up, Frederick in the Pirates of Penzance is something that I've done more times than I can count at this point. And it was a really great deal. Come to New Hampshire in the fall, spend a week, and make a little bit of money, sing a great show, and be a part of this community. I'd never been to New Hampshire before the audition, and so I drove up from Boston for the day. I was sold, and I was really excited to come back. I was invited back the next year to sing again, and that's really where the conversation about becoming an artistic director, or at least starting to give artistic advice to the company, began.
Now I found in your bio, very interesting, that 1 week after you took the job as artistic director in 2014, you married your husband, and I would say that is a lot of work coming on your shoulders of your changes in your life all at once, but obviously wonderful events, to say the least.
They were both really great commitments. Yes.
Yeah. And now, just so folks know, that Raylynmor Opera was founded, and maybe you can give us a little bit more of the background. It was around 1995.
Yeah, by Henry Schaefer, and Robin Kinney was in it at the beginning too. And we started out doing a whole bunch of different things. They really started very big, doing 3 titles a year with a special emphasis on the works of Gilbert and Sullivan. And that's a tradition that we look to sort of continue and keep coming back to, because it's this great canon of works that makes us laugh, and that we really have developed an audience for. But the opera company has been around ever since. We've now produced well over 30 titles. And we, for a really long time, had a mandate to produce opera in English. And that was one of the big sort of artistic endeavors of the company, was to lower the barrier of access for opera to our intended audience. Opera gets this reputation as being the stuffy, hard to access art form that is, sort of rapidly becoming a museum piece in a way. And so this commitment to producing works in English is, meant to show the audience just how relatable this theater form is, and to be able to more closely relay the meaning of the music. We've started experimenting again with performing in the original languages, especially as the technology for presenting subtitles and supertitles has gotten better. And the idea has always been to connect our audience as immediately with the artistic work as possible. And that's something that Henry Schaefer started with. He wanted everybody to experience opera in a way that was immediate, theater forward, and personal.
And in terms of being personal, the partnership that Raylynmor Opera has had over the years with the Park Theater has been a robust one, and some really incredible, not only performances at our annual meetings in December, but one of the most memorable ones was a combination of you folks as well as Project Shakespeare. And I think that one, people still talk to me about that evening, that was such a memorable evening over at the Jaffrey Women's Club. I forget, that probably was, I don't know what year that was, 2016?
2016, yeah.
16. But it was an ambitious and, but, in not the easiest venue, but a lovely venue. But you guys pulled it off.
I love that space. I love that space because it's a small room and it is opera that is immediate and up close. The other thing I loved about it was really hearing, what we did with that program was we took the scenes from Shakespeare that have correlating scenes that have been, somehow made it into opera land. And then we would do scenes or monologues and then show it as in the musical version and back and forth. And what's so great is that, if you go to Boston or if you go to New York and you're seeing opera in a gigantic venue, which certainly has its merits and certainly has a thrilling quality to it, it seems distant. And it's something that is 100 feet away, 200 feet away in some cases. And in the case of Raylynmor, it's often 10 feet away. And you're hearing the same voices that are singing in these, that are used to singing in these traditionally large halls, but you're hearing them up close, and this sort of powerful thing that overcomes you, and you get this, you feel like you're completely enveloped in it. And that's just what I love about what Raylynmor has managed to accomplish in its now 25 years on the planet.
Yeah, and we have been in discussions, Ben and I, and obviously, and board to boards, that we most definitely want Raylynmor Opera to be a part of the Park Theater. We are very much looking forward. I see no complications, well, outside of what we'll talk about next and how COVID has impacted your performing arts group. But because you had to cancel Aida, and that we are hoping that next spring, late spring, we'll be able to bring it to our stage here in Jaffrey.
Well, it's always painful to postpone anything. And with a massive orchestra and a massive, cast that included, some really fine singers from the area, plus a whole bunch of well-regarded singers from across the United States, to have to be able to pull the rug out on something like that it was really hard. I was really proud that Raylynmor was able to pay its artist, at least in part, as part of that. And an effort is to sort of honor the work that they had already put into it. And the rest of the effort is to retain them so that they are still interested in coming back and performing this. And nearly everybody that didn't have some sort of other conflict next year is so gung-ho to return. They're just so excited about this piece. That said, though, we were really hoping, to do it in the park anyway. And one of the real reasons was that when Aida was premiered, it was to celebrate the opening of the new opera house in Cairo, in Egypt. And so what better piece to bring as the, the first performance that Raylynmor is going to have than something that was meant for a grand opening.
Yeah.
So Aida's going to be it, and we cannot wait.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly a mutual. We think we have a great facility and stage, and Ben has seen it in various incarnations during our construction, and I have to say, with our telescopic seating, that gives us a huge flat floor that can be used with for anything theatrical, operatic, dancing, mosh pit, whatever. And Ben had his creative juices flying with ideas that how he might be able to use that for a production. But you are still producing something for this year, and maybe you can let everyone in on what's being produced and what you're working on right now.
Well, it's been a wild time for the performing arts in general, for everybody. And I'm so excited to have a board of directors that is really supportive of taking big chances and really trying to rethink how this art form can get to our audience. As we started to look at our planning, especially for the first half of this year, we just realized that there was not going to be any good, safe way that we could be in person with our audience. And so we started thinking about, there's so many different things. Might it be safe enough to gather a cast and do a live stream? And that seems risky, especially when we have people coming in from out of town who need to stay with host families. And so we opted for something that is really kind of on the cutting edge, especially for a smaller opera company like we are, and that is to make an original film production of Ruggero Leoncavallo's opera Pagliacci, which Pagliacci means clowns in Italian. This one-act opera is about a little over an hour long, and it contains some of the most famous music that's ever been written for opera. Written in 1892, it's part of the Verismo movement, and is this really powerful story of this. It's a traveling theater troupe, or traveling troupe of clowns. The head of the troupe is Canio, and Canio is an abusive husband. He's married to Nedda, and Nedda has been really particularly feeling trapped in the marriage. And some of her feelings have led her to have an extramarital affair with Silvio, who is a local man. There are other players too that sort of manipulate each other or are sort of acting as bystanders. And then there's a robust chorus, and the chorus serves as the observers of the piece. So when we were thinking about what we might do, we'd been planning on doing Pagliacci anyway. We'd planned on doing it with another piece, a one-act Russian opera called Aleka that was written also in 1892. We dropped that for simplicity's sake of developing our first ever original film. And we've decided to frame the action in the present. I've been thinking a lot about, in the negative sense, about how there are certain people that are trapped in certain abusive situations in the COVID-19 crisis. And in choosing an opera that deals specifically with the inability to escape from one of those situations and not having many choices, there's a very clear artistic parallel to Pagliacci. The other thing is that the dramatic final action, which is that the husband and wife decide to go ahead and perform this show before a live audience, but things get very real, and he decides to confront his wife on this infidelity, and it ends with a murder. I mean, it's very serious, but all of this plays out in front of a live audience, and the live audience, until the very end, they aren't sure if they're watching the best drama that they've ever seen, or if they're watching something that's real. And so the idea is that if we're all spending all this time sitting here watching live streams, why not set this whole thing up so that this is yet another live stream? We're seeing the chorus in their homes watching this live stream. This live stream is being developed and being broadcast to everybody so that these people can sort of have a lifeline. This troupe of clowns can have this lifeline to continue to make money. And then all of the other drama is just sort of compounding things. And COVID-19 just makes everything worse in this situation for these characters. So we just saw this as a great opportunity to examine the relevancy of Pagliacci, which is one of the traditional great grand operas. It has stunning music, a lot of it which is familiar to the audience, even if they've never specifically heard Pagliacci before. And I think it's going to be a really special treat when it's released on a streaming platform in October.
Well, that we will all be looking forward to that, and certainly the folks at Raylynmor will get that word out. But we will assist in getting that word out to everyone to tune in to see this groundbreaking, really, performance. Now, speaking of performance, you have brought along a very fresh, taped within hours ago, almost you could say, tape of Sarah Beckham-Turner, accompanied by pianist Keith Chambers. And I'm going to let you do the introduction, and then we can watch this beautiful performance.
Well, I'm so fortunate to have Sarah Beckham-Turner, fabulous soprano. She sang on our summer gala last year and was an audience favorite. She's ideal casting for a role like this. She lives with her husband, who will be playing Canio, because we are casting in a way that is appropriate to the social distancing thing. We're choosing performers that are already socially distanced together. And she's going to sing the aria that starts out "Qual fiamma avea nel guardo" and then "Stridono lassù." And this is an aria where Nedda has just been sort of mildly threatened by her husband in a public way. And she's reflecting on what she knows is true, is that she's having this affair, and she's worrying about what might happen if her husband were to ever find out about it. And then she sees this flock of birds fly overhead, and she sees the symbolism in that. And as a performer, she gets why there's symbolism is so important, and she just yearns to have the freedom that those birds have to just fly away. And she sings this gorgeous aria from Pagliacci.
Qual fiamma avea nel guardo, l'occhiava assai per tema che leggissi il mio pensier segreto, o se mi sorprendesse brutale come lei. Ma
Wow. 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 She is fantastic.
Fantastic indeed. And I'm even more in awe that she is 8 months pregnant with her second child, and maybe seven. She's due in August. That's what I know. She's pulling this together, as well as appearing in Opera Ithaca's original video production of Johnny Skiki. That she did this with an earbud in her ear after Keith, who lives in New York, recorded this and sent it to Texas. Then she exported it to me, stitched it together, sent it to you. So I have to give everybody amazing credit for being as wonderful as they are.
Well, a big thank you, Sarah. If you're watching, Sarah Beckham-Turner. Keith, thank you very much. And again, thank you, Ben. Thank you for bringing this to us. Thank you for what you do with Raylynmor Opera. We love it, and we want to be part of it with our new theater. And I also want to say, I think you get the award, and Kim will have to vouch for me if I'm making the correct assessment. But I believe you have the best directed background, art directed background for a guest. Yeah, really well.
I'm showing you the rest of the room, but this corner is perfect.
Well, you've gotten, you know what's in frame, and you did a marvelous job with that. And I'm going to end with Ben to say Ben is going to be one of our celebrity pledge takers on our live telethon, seat telethon and auction on July 10th at 7 p.m. So tune in. You will have a phone number where you can call Ben and give him all your money. And in the name of the Park Theater, thank you. So we thank you, Ben, for helping us on that night. And we're so glad you've been here to be a guest today and to bring the wonderful Sarah Beckham-Turner with you.
Steve, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll see you soon. Well, you can't beat Raylynmor, I'm telling you. And Ben is such a wonderful guy and so incredibly talented, and whipped all that together. I should have added one more thing, that he is a filmmaker editor to pull all those pieces together from the elements to make that film that you just saw of Sarah's performance. So we are coming to the end, but I want to tell you some things that are going on our next shows. On Thursday, please tune in, because we have two wonderful guests. We have Joe Bills, and Joe, you might know the name, is associate editor at Yankee Magazine. He is also the co-owner with his brother Fred at Escape Hatch Books, one of the greatest comic books of stores and bookstores of all, and they've been awarded this. So it's not just me saying it, in New England. And so he'll be here talking about the impact of COVID, and but a lot more positive things as well about Yankee Magazine, and certainly about our favorite bookshop just a few hundred feet from us here. And we're going to have singer-songwriter Eve Pierce. I did not know Eve, but our intern, Andrea Cornelius. Well, I actually had seen Eve in a cabaret with my wife, Lisa, last summer at the Players. And she is absolutely a delight and a wonder. And I think you're going to really, really love her music. And that is going to be this Thursday, believe it or not, July 2nd at 5 p.m. The next person that I want you all to know about is this woman on the right here. This is Lucinda Hawksley. Lucinda is going to be with us on Thursday, July 9th. And Lucinda has quite a pedigree, and it's very simple. She is the great, great, great granddaughter of Charles Dickens. And she is an acclaimed author around the world, especially in the UK and her hometown, her town where she lives, of London. She's a lecturer. She travels all over the world, including the United States, talking, and she writes. She's a biographer. She writes about the Victorian period. She writes about the royal family, and she has written multiple books about her great-great-great-grandfather, Charles Dickens. So there is a lot to learn from Lucinda. She will be coming via London to us. And I think that is going to be a great show the day before our auction and telethon. So I think you're going to enjoy that as well. Again, as we come to the end, I want to thank our good friends, because Monadnock Tonight has been made possible by Beltates, a lumber and building material business, family owned since 1898. If you would like to be a sponsor of our program, we'd love to talk to you. You can do it by emailing us at parktv@theparktheater.org, or you can call us at 532-9300, 532-9300. Just a reminder for folks, because we always like to talk about at the end of the show about be safe, be healthy. We would like to remind you it's to wear a mask when you're in the vicinity of other folks, whether you're on a shopping trip, as these little cartoons say, cover your lips, cover your smile, cover your grill. You know the drill. But remember, in these times, it's you wear them for others and they wear them for you. But please remember to wear a mask when you are near other folks. And that allows us to be safe and healthy and be kind to others. And certainly wearing a mask is kindness to others. And be hopeful, because we can do this. We can get through all this without taking care of each other. So this is Steve Jackson. We will see you on Thursday with Joe Bills, Eve Pierce, and our producer, Kim Graham, with her Go Monadnock segment. That is Thursday. So mark it on your calendars. We're so glad you were with us today. And again, we thank our wonderful Raylynmor Opera guests, Mr. Ben Robinson and Miss Sarah Beckham-Turner. Bye-bye, everybody.